bizarro world, Florida. You think of that beautiful place, but it's also a hockey state. How about this? NHL announcing the finalists for the Selke Trophy today for the top defensive forward. Florida Panthers' Alexander Barkov and Florida Panthers' Sam Reinhart named as finalists, and Tampa Bay's Anthony Cirelli. What? The state of hockey. And by the way, you can bring the Moose or Jim Barker on. The Moose really did start something here. From fanarch.com and 3 Down Nation, the top 5 teams for jersey sales in the Canadian Football League in 2024. Hold on, Jim. I hope you're sitting down. Number 1, the BC Lions. Number 2, the Calgary Stampeders. Number 3, the Toronto Argonauts. Number 4, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Number 5, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Top teams for jersey sales, that according to fanarch.com and 3 Down Nation. I know you football guys don't care about that stuff, but there you go. How you doing,
Well, we need to care. We need to care about it, because if we want to keep this league alive, obviously, there's a change of commissioner, and that, what Randy did was bring in some great owners, but the bottom line is the franchise values haven't gone up. And Edmonton was basically, Mr. Thompson got it to take over the Bills, but didn't pay a franchise fee for it, as far as I know. And, they can talk about how the cap went up for reasons I won't go into, but 8 out of 9 teams lost money. And Winnipeg was the only team to make money last year. So there's an issue that has to be solved. Now, what that is, that's what Stu Johnston's there for, is to figure out how do you raise franchise values. The NBA, the Boston Celtics, sell for $6.1 billion. You can't buy an NBA team for under 6.4. An NFL team, they're all, over $4 billion. Major League Baseball's all over $4 billion. Every professional sport. Yet the CFL has remained stagnant in terms of franchise value. And is that because it's only in Canada? To an extent. But, I think that's one of the goals of the league has to be, is grow franchise value, which will, in turn, I think, make the whole league healthier. And you do that, like he talked about, through reach and, with new television things, and that's why he's there. And I believe expansion. Yeah. I know you don't, but I do.
No, are you kidding me? I've been flamed for saying, not only do I want expansion across the U.S. I want 94, 95, 96 all over again. That's what I want? No, I'm totally pro-expansion.
Oh, I thought you were against it.
Oh, let's get that. As Jones would say, don't get it twisted. Dunnigan says expand, but in Canada, and I don't think you can. So, no, I want to see 9 teams across the USA, and I've faced a firing squad for that. I don't even bring it up anymore. They don't want to expand. Stuart Johnston's come out and admitted it, so let's stop talking about it. I just don't want to talk about it, because until they're serious and have a plan, I don't agree. Now, to more important things. We're coming out of the NFL draft weekend. We're coming out of the CFL draft. It's like the most exciting week for personnel people, Jim. So what are your thoughts on what's gone down since the last we talked on both sides of the border?
Well, there were some interesting things in the CFL draft. I thought the whole Darian Newell situation was kind of glossed over, but he was a guy who was going to be picked as high as 1, 2, or 3. I had him going 3rd in my original mock draft. I had him going 3rd overall to Ottawa. But he fell, and he tested positive at the combine, which puts him out for a year. Because he's not on a roster yet, they can't sign him to a contract until he has sat for a year. So all the teams knew about it, but no fans knew, nobody else knew about it. I found out about it through an NFL friend that, mentioned it to me, because they, in doing their research on whether to sign him or not, found out about it. So again, the coaches and everybody in the CFL, for the most part, did a good job of keeping it quiet. And is that the best thing to do? Or is it better to say this is a situation, and if he falls, this is why? Again, it's now that I'm in the media, it's more difficult for me to. I understand the youngsters' privacy. I understand that, but again, this is I mean, I saw things where there's bets on who's going to be drafted first, and so actually, I was shown a thing of Devin Verisuk, who Hamilton took second overall, was 1,000 to 1 to be drafted in the top 5. Now, where you find that stuff, I have no idea. But when you have gambling like that on the draft stuff, you pretty much need to come out and be. I mean, if I'd have thrown $500 on Darian Newell to go in the top 5, and who knows what the odds are, but and then found out that it was common knowledge that that to me is a problem. And again, when you're in professional sports, gambling, whether you like it or don't like it, that's a part of it. And that's why transparency is crucial. And I didn't feel like there was transparency in that situation.
My friend, this is a tightrope they walk every bloody day, and I'm so glad I don't got to worry about it. Like last night, I'm watching the Leafs game on TNT here in Florida, and there's Paul Bissonnette. You don't know who these, well, you probably are because you're in Canada. Biznasty going, here's my top 3 bets for the Leafs. Matthews is going to score. They're going to have more than 3 goals. I'm like, you're on the panel. What are you talking? What? But whatever. I'll just shut up. It doesn't seem right to me, but nobody asked. Now, having said all that, Jim, this CFL draft, I love it. It's zany. The number 1 prospect, Elikiah Manor, doesn't even get picked. Like, in what world does that happen? It's just the way that it is. I'm not criticizing. It's just the way the CFL draft is. It's kooky.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is he's never going to see this league. He was drafted in the 4th round, and you have to make an evaluation when you're a CFL team, even with a 7th or 8th round pick. Do you want to take a chance on somebody who's never going to be there? Maybe with somebody like that you would, but the chance of him ever being up here are very small. And the same thing for Curtis Rourke, even though he was 7th round, and we will always go as part of our scouting of the NFL, we would take all 6th and 7th round picks and evaluate them as guys who could be on the open market. But you talk about a guy who fell into the best situation ever. Curtis Rourke is going to walk in the door, and the guy sitting next to him is just going to have signed a $50 million contract that was drafted in the 7th round 3 years ago. Now, they're going to look at him a little different than any other 7th round quarterback. The 49ers will look at him different than any other team might look at a 7th round quarterback because of Brock Purdy. And because what Brock Purdy did is the last guy taken in the draft. I think Curtis Rourke and the San Francisco 49ers is a great matchup. I mean, if he'd have been taken by some other team, I might have thought the 3rd round was reasonable. I thought they took him a little early, just like I thought last year they took Hergel a little too early. Saskatchewan took him in the 1st round. He was the best offensive lineman in the draft. He's with New Orleans, still with them. Same thing about Curtis Rourke. I felt when he fell into San Francisco, which again, Kyle Shanahan wants a guy who can run an Elway type of offense. That's Curtis Rourke. I mean, Curtis Rourke is a 6'5" guy, play action and things like that is where he's strong. And I just think it's a perfect match in terms of system. He's at a place where they respect a 7th round pick enough to give a guy $50 million on his first contract after being drafted. So I just think it's a perfect landing spot for Curtis, and I don't think we're going to see him up here. Would I like to? Absolutely. I'd love to see him in the seat, but I just don't see that happening. I really believe he fell into a great situation. So that is the beauty. Paris Shand, who was my top defensive lineman in this draft in the CFL, he was signed to a contract. Now, he was not drafted, but he got $25,000, which in NFL is not huge. If he'd have got 6 figures, he got $25,000 to sign in Buffalo. So his chances of making it for a year, because again, you have to look at the player. Paris Shand is just played. He started playing in grade 12 in Toronto. He was a basketball player and went to Arizona for 3 years and transferred to LSU and played in the SEC. his upside in growing is huge. He's not great against the run, which makes him almost better for our league than their league, than the NFL, because he's going to have to play tight ends and things. But Pedersen is picked the last pick of the second round. Hayden Harris also signed a free agent contract, also with Buffalo, same position, a youngster out of Montana. He got 10,000 to sign. So the chances of him coming are a lot better. It's a great example of Harris gets picked, I believe it was 11th overall. Shand doesn't get picked until 18th or not, last pick of the second round. That's because one got 25,000, one got 10,000. What are their chances of making it back here? And that's what that's what makes the draft in the CFL such a beautiful thing. Now, there's a lot of teams, a lot of guys, there's 7 of them that were drafted first and second round going to mini camps, free agent mini camps. They just walk on as a invited player to their mini camp. And occasionally players make it from there. Corey Greenwood, I lost. Shoot, it had to be, what was that? It was about 2013 or 14. And he walked on down in Kansas City. They begged to take him because he had an agent who was holding him out, trying to hold him out. A guy named Jonathan Hardaway. And fans know who he is. He holds players out. Anyway, He went down there as a walk-on, made it. So they can make it, but the guys who walk on, it doesn't affect the CFL draft status at all if a guy's going to a mini camp. And there's 7 of the guys who got drafted that are going to a mini camp. Hope that clears it up for you, Rod.
Oh, yeah. Well, it does to me. I hope it does to the viewers. He was Josiah St. John's agent, too. And he held him out with our camp. We had him number 1 overall, right? Great questions from the viewers. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, who won the draft, Jim?
Well, ask me in about 2 years, 3 years. I mean, obviously, Calgary had a lot of picks. They went, I was surprised by their pick. They went for a height, weight, speed guy and Damian Alford. Didn't play he went to Utah, didn't play. At Syracuse, he's a solid player. He was a captain. But he's 6'5" and a half and ran 4.42 at his pro day. Well, that's height, weight. I mean, that's NFL first round pick guy. I think he drops the ball too much. I think he's inconsistent as a receiver. I liked Keelan White that ended up going to Ottawa better. That's who I had mocked to be first. I thought Dave Dickinson, he's from Montana. I thought he was the best player in the draft. But they went for the height, weight, speed guy and Damian Alford. So, I thought Calgary's draft, and then they took Christopher Fortan. I thought they had some good picks toward the end. They got Max von Muhldorfer, like in the 7th round, that nobody's going to know, except that he's a Calgary guy. He's a world-class bodybuilder, heavy lifter. He's going to be one of the strongest players in the league. The guy weighs close to 300 pounds and ran under 5 flat, which means he can play an interior D-line, back up in the interior D-line, and play special teams. That rarely happens. So that was a real nice pick for them late. So I thought they did a nice job through the draft. Dwayne Cameron's doing that for them now. And he's, he used to coach at Laurier. He knows the Canadian players well. And they did a nice job.
We only got a couple minutes. Robin Vegas, huge Bomber fan, says, what does Coach think of the Bombers' first-round pick, Connor Shea, at 6th overall?
Well, again, he was speculated to maybe be number 1 overall. For me, he only played 1 year at Wyoming. And again, just in watching how he plays, I didn't think they compared him to Alex Singleton. I don't see that. I see him as I was surprised they went that way, Winnipeg, to be honest with you. I liked Jackson Finley, a safety, because they lost Donovan Alexander, their safety, and they need to get a physical guy and a smart guy because they play so much match coverage and things. So that surprised me. So Connor Shea's going to be a solid guy. Does he love the game? I think that's a big hack on him, is that maybe he's not a guy who absolutely loves the game. His dad, he grew up in California, didn't even know he was going to be in the Canadian draft. Found out his dad was born in PEI, applied for the draft, and again, he started at Wyoming. He ran very well. He's going to run well. He's got some experience at a high level. So solid pick.
Okay, I had to just check and see who took Jackson Finley. Obviously, I called his dad's games. That's how old we are. Brooks Finley. That's got to be his dad, right? And his grandpa played in the league,
No,
and his
that's
uncle
his,
John
that's his
Hoffman.
uncle. No, his
Okay,
uncle
either
is
or.
Brooks.
There's a million Finleys around. Either way.
Yeah,
who's his dad?
BC traded up. BC traded up with Toronto to get Jackson Finley in the second round. They
Who's his
traded up
dad?
to get him. Well, Brooks is his uncle, so it's Brooks's brother is his dad.
Okay, who I also believe played in the CFL. That's why I asked. I know Brooks far better, and those guys are all from Vancouver. So if BC took him, which they did, because I just looked it up, then that's a nice fit too. Well, Jim, it's been a fun week in football and in sports, and that it always is. We'll find something to talk about next week, right?
Well, next week, Wednesday, rookies report to camp in the CFL, and then the weekend, next Saturday, all the CFL camps open. So we've got our first preseason game coming up, Calgary and BC, in about 2 weeks. So we'll have plenty to talk about.
We'll have plenty to talk about. Good stuff. Okay, thanks for this today, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The CFL on TSN's Jim Barker answering your questions and mine, and it all turns out nice again. We'll be right back. Sports update on the way. Viewer takeover the rest of the way. We're live here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.